welcome back to my channel. I'm Tony, and if you're following this particular build, you'll know it's the HPI Baja, the 5B self-build kit from incredibly, just beautifully engineered from HPI Racing, and possible for me to make this with my friends up there in Canuck Wheel Spin Models, and of course my two sons from NXT Collectables, making it possible for me to get this kit and enjoy every second of the build. And when we left off last time, I'd installed the kill switch onto the engine, and I'd installed the engine block onto the main chassis itself. Subsequently to that, the exhaust turned up, so I wasn't sure which one to go for, so I spoke to my chums up there at Wheel Spin Models in Canuck, and although they don't stock this particular exhaust, they pointed me in the right direction of one, and it turned up. And as soon as it turned up, I got it out of its box, and I thought I'll just test fit it before I film any of it. And then I went ahead and test fitted it, and then I left it on there. And I thought I'll just go ahead and just test the engine, and I'll film that, but I didn't. I just got carried away with the build to the point it was too late. I'd already installed it, I tested the engine, and I hadn't filmed it. So I will talk you through a very simple installation of an exhaust onto the Baja itself, and then we'll go on, and I'll actually finish off the installation of the kill switch itself. There's a light to put on here, and we'll sort of show you how it works, and then we'll go on and just carry on building. I don't have a particular target today. I'm just going to crack on, go through the instruction manual, see how far I get, and achieve to a point where I think it makes sense to stop. And just see how far we can get on completing this. So what I'll do now is I'll take the camera off its hilt, and I'll just talk you through the very simple installation of one of these amazing upgrade exhausts. So this is the exhaust that I've went for. I went for the DDM Dominator V2 pipe, and it was actually really straightforward to install. So where you take off the old silencer, this old thing here, just take that off, so that's going to go either in the bin or my spares. You are left with two holes. Let me take the camera around here. You're left with two holes into the engine block itself. Use exactly the same holes, and then there is a gasket which comes with the kit. There's this heat sink that comes with the kit. It doesn't matter which way it goes up. It's up, up or down. It doesn't really matter. It's exactly the same. And there's another gasket that goes in between the heat sink and the main exhaust itself. And the two bolts you get with the kit, you just make sure you put some red thread locker on that and sort of wind those into the engine nice and tight. And then you have the whole thing is connected with this spring here, which allows the exhaust to vibrate. And there is a flexible heat collar here, which is just secured in place with a metal Jubilee clip. And there's just, the only other thing is there is a fitting underneath here which just secures the bracket at the bottom of this with a bolt. Very, very simple, very straightforward installation. So I'm sorry I didn't film that, but as you can see, it's actually really simple install. And obviously it's clearly designed for the Baja, because when you pass everything through, this all comes as one piece apart from the front part here, which connects to the main engine block. It passes through beautifully, without touching any of the plastic, because you can imagine this gets extremely hot. So that is it. And then now I'm just going to go on and complete the heat sink. I did actually test the engine. You may pick up there's a bit of fuel in the line here and in the bubble. I did test the engine to see if the kill switch works, and it does. The only thing I've got to do now is just tidy up this receiver box with all the cables and everything else. And I've got to put a light. There's a light that comes with the kit, and it's in here, so I'll find it in a minute. We'll get to that in a moment. And I'm just going to drill a little hole in this so we can present the light up here, and then I'll show you how the kill switch actually works, and then we can crack on with the build. So first thing I want to do is I want to take this little light, this little LED light, and pass it through the top of this case here. And as part of the moulding of this, there is a recess in the case here, or in the lid, which kind of lends itself, I think, to putting a hole. I'm having a look at that, and I can see no reason other than perhaps this is what the intention is. And if you built one of these and it's not, please let me know. So I'm going to drill a hole, and I've just matched the so I've got my drill, and I want to make sure I want it a really nice tight fit. So I've got the bulb here. So this drill's probably a little bit too small, but we can always open the hole up. So I'm just going to gently drill through that without touching the cables. Making sure my fingers are not behind it, not in the way. Bring the speed up, I think. Try not to get the swarf inside. That's the hole drilled. I'm just going to test fit, see if that goes through. It's going to need to be opened up a little bit. Let's see if that goes through now. It's a bit tight, but I want it to be tight. I think that will go through. Yeah. So I'm just going to open that hole up a little bit more and then we'll glue it in position if I need to. Hopefully it won't need to be glued. Better get my air hose on that. Hate the fact the swarf in there with the receiver. That's about where I want it to be. So a little bit tight, that. Just going to clean this hole up the other side of that and then pop that through and put a bit of glue on it. So just want to clean this hole up this side. And that's fine. Get a bit of air on that, I think. Just to... And that's that. Have to move the arm of that servo back round. I don't like forcing these, but I'll be able to get the lid down with that. And where's my little bulb? There it is. I'm going to see if I need to glue this. I'm just going to push this in. That comes through there. Presented on there. Now, what we need, I've got the radio on, so I now need to turn the power unit on itself. Ah, perfect. As you can see, the arms just come around. Got the red light showing me that it's now connected. And if I was to take the handset, which is on, if you can see that, and now turn that off, the light goes out, and that would cut the power to the engine. So that's a simple test to see if it's working. So red light on means it's connected, and it can run. If you lose power and if I put the power back on the handset, you'll see, just turn that on. Red light comes back on. You can probably just about hear the servo sort of doing its thing. And let's just... So, and if we now turn the power off, that light goes out, and that's it. And if I now try and use the handset, nothing's moving. So when the engine's on, that will then, if it loses signal from the handset, it will cut the engine and activate the brake and bring your model to a stop. So that is in there. I'm not sure if I'm going to need to glue that. I don't think I do. It's in there. I think I might have to actually. So I'll get a little bit of glue on that and we'll pop that in its final place, and then we can just turn the power off to the model. I can get my finger around there. It's off. And then we can tidy all this up and put all this back. Let's put a tiny little dab of glue on the bulb. The lid back on. Pop that away. This B7000 glue is brilliant. And where is it? There we go. Now slide that back into position. That glue will hold that when it goes off firmly in place. And now I'll just move that servo arm back out of the way. Now I just want to make sure that I've got all my cables. I don't want to use a sharp edge tool. Get one of my little modelling tools just to make sure that that cable is sitting in its little receptacle and not going to go anywhere. And then just a matter of really of getting all these and getting them to sit as tidy as possible and flat as possible inside. I don't want to overload the receiver. Click this lid back down into its position on the back, making sure that there's no cables are being compromised. Just see if I can get that. That's the charging cable to the batteries, big heavy duty. Get in there. There we go. Back's on. Just checking I'm not forcing anything. It's all a bit tight. That's in place. Oh, hang on. That's why. Now, that's down. We get our split pin, if I can find it. Found it, just got to pick it up. Slide that back through. That's it, hold that down. That can all go back into place. It will, I assure you. Hang on a minute. Not using anything sharp to push these cables in, just blunt ended. Oh, because it's not in the back. Oh, it's just tune in about an hour's time. I should have had this pop back in place. That's it, that's back. It is going in. Right. There you go. Done. And then got the charging cable, light on. Just going to do that one more time. Just turn the radio set on, make sure I haven't done any damage. Radio set on. Battery on. Servo goes back into position. Red light on. Servos all working. Brilliant. Turn the power off. I shouldn't never turn the power off to the radio. I'm just showing you the way to do it. You always turn the radio set on and then the model, but I'm just showing you again just in case we lose power. Turn the power off. Light goes out. Nothing works. Perfect. Now we can crack on with the build. So the next part of the build is the central roll bar, which is this massive big piece of heavy duty plastic here. And we will need these parts here as well when we put on there's another sort of engine mount to go on both sides, so we'll just snip these off, pop them to that side, and then we'll just take these parts off here. Don't need these just yet, pop those out of the way. It's a lovely big thick heavy duty piece of plastic. So we're back into the plastic build. Snip that out of there, not required. Just make sure that that is clean at the top as well. Don't need anything on that, so that can go away. And then this positions itself, so it looks like the angle is positioned towards the rear of the vehicle. So it goes in this position here. I've just seen another few things I need to trim off of here. Look at that. My eagerness to get this on. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's actually bent off. It's got a fold on it like this. And this appears that the direction that this should be is folded to the rear of the vehicle, and that just goes, there's a couple of slots in the top of that. Just push that down, spin the model around, and that goes, slots in beautifully into there. There's a couple of bolts that we're going to need. There's no washers or anything. This bolt goes underneath. Let's see if I can move that around so you can see. That goes underneath that and winds into that. Now, this is going to be interesting. I'm going to have to tip this back, tip it round so I can get to the edge of that. Just wind that up. You can see that the kill switch for the main engine is still on there, and that will also operate. So if you were standing there with your model running and you just want to switch the power off, you just press this yellow button on the engine, and that will also kill the engine. There's a huge amount of plastic parts on this. I guess this is there to protect the carburetor. A bit awkward. I'll tell you what, you really do need something like a stand like this to be able to build a model like this. I don't know how you would do it otherwise. That's now pulling that into where it should be. Again, don't go mad and over tighten this. When it gets tight, then you're good. Because otherwise you don't, because it's plastic. So that's that side. I have to lift the model up and do the opposite. The other side. It's just so I can get the driver in to position. And same again. Just wind that up so it's nice and tight. And the very slow process of adding all the other parts on now begins. We've got to build up the brake and the clutch and the whole thing. And all the while we're doing this, I'm learning all the time. This is what I love about building this kit. It's completely different to what I normally do as far as Armortech is concerned. But I'm, hopefully learning skills building this model that will hold me in good stead later down the line. Just a little bit awkward. So that's that in. On to the next step. Okay, so we're doing the right engine mount now, and this is this again beautifully finished anodized gunmetal piece, and it's the bottom hole slides over this here. Now, if you don't upgrade the clutch bell, the bracket, if you like, here, you would have to use this spacer that comes with the kit. Because I've upgraded this is already taken into account. Now, I have previously looked at the instructions and realized that this bolt that I put in on this needs to be held off until such time we put this plate on. So I'm just going to unwind that again. There's no mention of thread locker on here, so I will oh yes, there is a bit. They want some thread locker on this. So let's just start again. So that goes on there, no need for a spacer, and that should just push onto, pop that into, it's all a bit tight. There's a little hole here, and on the roll bar there's a little plug, and that should, I don't know why that's not going in. It's all a bit tight, that's all. So I'm going to pop that onto the plate first. Then I think that's it, that's in there now. Now we'll put this on with a little bit of thread locker. Spring washer required. And that will go through that plate into the main block itself. You just have to pull that over. Sorry, try and get this so you can see. So it's going in now. Still recovering from my broken arm, and everything's a little bit sensitive still, so please forgive me. I'm not going to tighten that up completely just yet because there's another fixing to go in there. Don't ask you to thread lock this because obviously you shouldn't really use thread locker with plastic. Just need to wind that one in. Again, I'm not doing all this too tight just yet. Just pulling that in nicely. There's another one that goes in there, and then we'll come back and tighten this up in a moment. Oops. Will go in. It's starting to pull it in now, and then we'll give this one a bit of a tighten up. It's all very, very tight. Winding these in slowly. Want that plug to be on there, and I think I might just have to use a little bit of persuasion. Excuse the noise. Now I should be able to wind this in. That's better. Go with the top bolt. I can see it needs to be pulled in a little bit more. Just keep doing that until it's nice and tight. All the gaps are all closed up. So, I'll tell you what, move this over to the edge. In there tight. That's better. It's just because it's all brand new, it's all tight and stiff. You can see that the gap nicely closing up. So that's it, all done, installed, plug is flush, everything's tight, all good to go. Now we just need to do the other side. I forgot, you've got these little pieces on here. Don't know whether this is to do with putting the body shell on or not, but these need to go on as well. So that just simply slides over that. They show you putting it through the first hole and then just putting one of these pins through. Just pop that round there so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to put it through the first hole like they ask. That's it, that's on. So I forgot to put that lug on. We will come around and do this side. Right, so now we're doing the left hand side. Now you get 2 remaining little brackets in your bag. Let me just bring these into camera, wherever you are. You get 2 remaining brackets. It's the smaller one that you need here. This one here is for the rear. And when you pop that into position like that, you can see where one fixing goes. You can also see the little plug that goes through this hole here, but then this is where I've already fixed the engine onto the right, so that needs to come off. that's tight. That's now free. So this is part of how you secure the pull coil. So that just comes out, and they show you this little spacer. Just checking the paperwork, and it fits perfectly. This also needs to be thread locked, so let's put that back on with a little bit of thread locker in. Pop that little collar. Let's put this on first. I'm going to pass this through that, and here we go. Use my little forceps. Just so I can hold that in position. I'll pass that through. Release that. Brilliant tool, that. Absolutely brilliant tool, and thanks again to the guys that suggested it when I was doing my series 1. So that, I'm just going to get a couple of turns on that so that as that happens, you know what, it's going to need a longer bolt, isn't it? So let's pop that through. I'm going to get a longer bolt. They do suggest that you use a longer bolt, so apologies for that. And spring washer. So what bolt do we need to use? 9741. I'm just checking the paperwork. That's the paperwork. Spring washer on that. No harm done. A little bit of thread lock. And gonna have to get the forceps out again. If I can actually get in there and get it. Little granddaughter's just come to say hello. That's better. That's now going to go in there, so let's just get a few more turns on that. I guess if you're building this and you've never done, don't be worried about unbolting the engine, because it does tell you quite clearly in the instructions, so it's nothing to concern yourself with. So we can just wind that back into position. Got the thread locker on it, got the spring washer. That should be fine. Slowly pulling itself. I won't do that up too tight. And we've got another bolt which needs to go in the bottom of this, and that will help pull the whole thing in. And you'll see it sort of slide over this sort of little lug that's here. Go back and wind that in a bit more. That's as far as that's going to go. Just lift this to the side so I can get a bit of torque on that. Nice and tight. That's in there, that's not going anywhere. And last but not least, one of these little lugs, which I'm pretty sure is for the holding the body on. Pass that pin through. There we go, line that up. And that's in. So that's that one done. So we'll go on now and do the back one. So now the rear engine mount goes, it's a piece of plastic which I found, it was actually in the bag. Sorry, I'm moving this out. It was actually in the bag, it wasn't even part of a parts tree. So this, as far as I can work out, goes in there, something like that. But you have a metal shield that goes on. I think that obviously, sorry, protects that from damaging the plastic. That then slides into position. Is there a right way and a wrong way? There was always a right way and a wrong way. Which way round do you go? You can only go in this position here. That's right. And then That would be above that, slides above it. This is a little bit awkward. That goes in there like that, and somehow bends into position with a bolt through it. So here we go. So let's see. They do talk about thread locker on this, so we'll have to put a bit of thread locker on the bolt. This is only a little bit awkward. Let's just take that away for now, push that through. Is it winding in? Yes, it's winding in slowly. There's a hole in the engine already, little threaded hole ready for this. Just winding that through so it passes out the other end. There we go. I mean, it's only a little bit awkward. I've probably gone too far with that. And push that around. Not sure how we're going to get to that with this in it. Oh, I can get through it that way. I can lift that up. So let's put the top bolt in here first. So I've got something to hold that in place with. Now there's a nut previously installed in the frame. I've checked that to make sure that is there. Right. This could be awkward, he says. That goes down there. We know that that goes in there. That definitely goes in there. Just a bit. I'm going to move this around so I can see what I'm doing here. There's no other way. There's no other way of doing this. It can only go in that position. Just a matter of fiddling around, getting that in that hole. Do you know what? I think I'll do this off camera because this is definitely going to end up in the bloopers. Right, I'm going to do this off camera and I'll come back to you. Just amazing. Take it off the camera and it makes life a lot easier. So it's just a bit awkward because I've got this exhaust on, but never mind, it's still going in, and that's in as tight as it possibly can be.
The biggest you can get.
Right, so I'm on camera now. I'm going to tell you. So my granddaughter has just come in and asked Granddad, because Nanny said, what? Nanny said, have I got any long weights and sky hooks? And I'm trying to explain to my wonderful granddaughter what that actually means. So I have, and I said, go back and tell Nanny I've got a whole box of them. What size does she want? Now, let me know in the comments if you know what that means. I'm sure you do. But no, Sophia, I don't have any long weights and I don't have any sky hooks because they don't exist.
Yeah. I called them star hooks.
Star hooks, I'll probably find some star hooks. I could probably get star hooks. Right, I'll crack on and we'll come back to this. So I think the final thing we're going to do today is just do the brake installation. So this asks for us to open kit bag J, which is this one here. So I'll just go and open that up and see what we've got in it. And this is another thing that I've been looking forward to. So I'm just doing this off camera. Looking forward to, but also a bit worried about. So we've got a great big old cog, which I guess it goes on there somewhere. We'll work that out in a minute. And we have a bag of fixings and a bearing and some other cogs and bits and bobs. So there. And now I've got to go and find some of the parts of the parts tree. Well as I've got the brake shoes, which I've opened up previously from another pack. And all that needs to be put in the right sequence. So I just need a couple of bits of the plastic parts and we'll get cracking. So I've already gone ahead and put the nuts in this particular piece here, and now it asks us to just slide the ball bearing into position like so, and then there's a little retaining clip that pushes down to hold that into place and just pull that together. It couldn't be easier. That's, well, hang on, so it couldn't be easier. It's not, doesn't want to stay in there, but I guess it's has a function and it will do its job according to what's required. But anyway, that's that. Now we just got to try and assemble the brake shoes. So I've gone ahead and I've put this block together, and this block has got a couple of pins here which you go through the back, and you just hammer these through so they present themselves in that orientation like that. So now it's just a matter of working out the brake shoes and the arrangement that's required. There's a sequence that you have to follow, so I'm going to go and get the brake shoes and then we'll do this in real time. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove this temporary cable tie that I put on, just to stop those discs from dislodging. So they did their job while we were messing around with this. Push that back into position. This slides around a bit, but doesn't matter. Now this assembly here, this now goes on. I'm just looking at the orientation of it. So these grooves, if you like, these grooves here are facing out according to the instructions. This then slides over that. I guess that will keep all of that, well, I think keeps all of that kind of in position, does it? Don't know yet. So that slides onto that. Then we have our pre-assembled, I've already put one of the plates on that, sorry. It's just a matter of getting the sequence of these plates correct. So there's a thin shim, if you like, that goes in first. That then positions itself in there. There is a long bolt that will go through and secure all of this together, but it doesn't go in just yet. I'll pop that out. Now we've got to get the brake shoes, so I'm going to leave that on there like that. And we have the brake shoes, which are these things here, and there's a bit of protective tape which needs to come off, like so. And there's two of those. So the next part that goes on is one of the thicker shims, and that just slides, he says, slides over that like that on one side. And then one side of the brake shoe, which is the sticky side, we've just taken off the protective cover, that will go, just double checking, that will go on this like that, and this, you'll just push that into position so that it's now, well, it's, I don't know whether it sticks or not, but anyway, that's that side. Then that will go on one side of the brakes like so, and then we have to build up the other side of the brakes. So where is it? We have this part here which has got this bump on it, so that will go on the very back of that. We've also got, let's have a look, one of our brake shoes, and that is it, I think. Yes, and we've got a slotted washer which will go, there's only one place it can go, that just pushes into the plate at the top there like that. This is a retainer which will slide into position there. So I guess we're going to have to make sure that all of this is kind of put in at the same time, because this little slot, there's a slot, I don't know if you can see that in the camera, there's a slot in that, and that keeps that slots into that. I'll just show you the back side of that. Whoops. Like so. And then we have a shoe that goes on there like that. And that will go the other side of this. So this is a two-part installation. I'm going to pop that on there. Slide that through. I can actually see how the brake works now. I'm going to pop that over just out of the way for now. And where's that? That's it. That's where we want. And that slides into the, I know you can't see this, but that slides into that washer, and that slot then retains that just like that. All a bit loose at the moment, but that's effectively that. Now Turn the page, he says. Confident that we've done the right thing. Now we've got we've got a retaining plate, which is, I'm just double checking that is the case. So this is the other plate that I actually thought was part of the engine mount, but it isn't. This is the plate that goes over the top and holds all this in position. And there's another, let's have a look. There's another little flanged washer with a little slot on the top, and you can see there's a little flat side on this, and that's the only way that can go in is one way. But let me just make sure I put it on the right way around. So it goes in from the bottom, countersunk left at the top. So I'm going to pop this, try and get this popped into there. That might need a bit of persuasion. Let me just take this, get my my little mallet out. Right, so now we've got this plate that goes over the top of that. We've got our brakes that go through here. I need to put a brake shoe on this side. So that, I've got my little helper here today. Yes, Ralph, what would you like? Got the pin.
You know, in the army book.
Yeah.
Oh no. You know, you to him on the tank.
Oh yes.
Who's sitting down on the
the medic.
The cannon. Yeah, the medic.
The medic.
Yeah.
Let me just talk. Let me just talk. Tell people what I'm doing here, and then we can talk. Yeah. So I've got the rear brake shoes on. Now we're going to push this through.
What's the weird brake?
The front brakes. Bear with me.
Oh, there.
Yeah, yeah. There's a spacer that has to go behind that. And then we have this plate, this top plate that goes over the top of all of that. And hopefully holds all this in place, Ralph. So then we've got these really long bolts now. I'm going to pass this through. Hopefully pick up. Right, wind that through there. And then the last bolt through there. Push that together. Wait a minute, please. And then we have one fixing that has to go in the back of that into the countersunk hole. That can't be right. Needs to be it's a longer one. Of course it is. Just double check that on the instructions, and that's that. So that's it, kind of all loosely together. Now we need to tighten all this up. Just start winding these fixings in, and we just tighten these up and come back round. Come back round to that back one in a moment. Oops. Just have to hold that underneath there. All still feels a little bit loose. I'm fairly confident once we get going and they're all tightened up, it'll feel better and tighter. Yeah.
The medical.
My army medic for my M26 tank. Yeah.
You know what we were talking about last day?
Yeah.
When I come back next time.
You can play with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's fine.
Just gonna take him carefully.
Yeah, okay. Right, so that is, I think, the brake housing complete. All nice and tight. There's no mention of thread locker in any of this.
Can he sit there for you?
You can, yeah. So that's that.
Right, so
Feels right, I think.
I think we don't want to waste the petrol.
No. Right, I'm just going to double check to make sure I've done everything correctly on here, but I think that is how it's supposed to be assembled. I will lift the camera up and go talk you through that from a top point of view. So this is the arrangement here. Obviously got the top plate on. you have a brake shoe either side, so brake shoe there, then you've got your main sort of retainer here, and there's a shim, and they give you extra shims. I guess it's just to see if you need to adjust the brakes, and the whole thing is held in place with this plate on the top like that. So there's the brakes there, and this is moving around. When you spin this, the rear wheels are actually rotating, and obviously now the next step for the build would be to install the main gear mechanism on here, but there's a bit of work to do to that before we can carry on. So I'm going to wrap this up. This is probably enough for one build session today, anyway, I'm going to tidy up and I'll be straight back to camera. Right, just thought I'd show you the kill switch in operation, so you can see we've got the red light that's on the machine at the moment in the receiver box, telling us that everything's connected. If I start the engine now, I've already pre-primed this. Wait a minute. And if I turn the receiver off, you can see it kills the engine. So if you lose the signal at any time, hang on, mate, bear with me, Ralph, come out of the picture, darling. When you lose the signal at any time, the engine will kill and apply the brakes, so your model will not go running off into the wilderness. So we'll just stop. It's still obviously got to be set properly, but you can see. Hang on a minute. I'm going to turn off the radio set. Classic. It's running out of fuel, I think. Yeah, it's starting to run out of fuel, but I think I've demonstrated that, so we'll leave that for now. Turn the radio set off, but light goes out. I'll switch that off now. This side will be there, and then I'll put it back on my bench and I'll do my final piece of the camera. So that's it for today's session, and actually I know it probably doesn't seem like we've gone very far, but actually, you know, every step is a step closer to the finish line. I'm really thrilled and really pleased that the kill switch operates perfectly as I hoped it would. We've put on the brake shoes today, that's all installed, and the next job really will be building up this sort of gearing mechanism, installing the throttle cable, or the throttle rod if you like, doing some fine tuning on the engine, and then it's not that far off us getting to a point where we'll be able to get the wheels on and see it run for the first time properly. I've got a bit of work to do with the running in, because you can't just put the fuel in and then rag this around. You have to build the engine up or break the engine in slowly. So far I've put a quarter of a tank of fuel in. I've used that. I'll do that probably 2 or 3 times more, and then once I've run the engine in off its, you know, on the bench, I'll then take it down, put it on its wheels if you like, and then take it for a very slow ride to start with, and then slowly build up the speed. What you don't want to do is put too much stress on the engine, so you have to break them in very slowly. So look, I'm really pleased with this. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please give me one of those amazing thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Got a long way to go still on this, and of course I'm back building my Series 1 Land Rover, which I absolutely love and I missed dearly when I had my arm in a cast. So I'll sign off today by saying thank you. Thanks for all your amazing support so far, all your wonderful subscriptions, all your wonderful comments, and as I said earlier, this channel is nothing without you and your support, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'll sign off finally by saying I am Tony. I love building these incredible models, and I look forward to seeing you in the next build session.